Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Tyler Ellison, and I am so excited because today I will be delivering to all of you a Ryoke transmission. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, we thank you all so much for your attention in this transmission. It is our civilization's highest joy to be able to speak to each of you in this unique way. We will begin today's transmission with the following idea. Recognize that you are in the midst of, as many of you are well aware, a global transformation. Now, we remind all of you that this transformation is not something that is happening separate of you. We will explain a little bit more deeply. Understand that, as many of you already know, you are your reality. You are technically inseparable from your experience of reality. And we will now zoom in a little bit more deeply into this idea to present to your physical mind certain facets of information that can allow for this understanding to become more visceral, more felt, more experiential. Recognize that what you consider to be the microbiome of your body, the idea of the bacterial cells and beings that make up, so to say, your immune system, that make up your digestive power, that coat the idea of your skin. Understand that these organisms are organisms that not only empower your system and regulate your system and balance your system, but this microbiome is in many ways expanded and grown and changed through your experience with the physical reality. So as you interact with different people, as you interact with different places, you are, in that sense, growing a new microbiome that is based off of the environments that you expose yourself to. And understand that it is this microbiome that, in many ways, generates your experience of your body and your body consciousness in relationship to what you consider to be states of vitality, states of wellness, as well as the idea of states of what you might consider to be dis-ease that can arise from an imbalanced microbiome in relationship to the air that you breathe that oxygenates all of your cells, that oxygenates many of the bacterial species, although not all of them. Understand that this is also something that is coming in to your body, so to say, through your breath, through your respiration. And the different air and atmosphere that you breathe in different locations carries with it different constituents, chemically speaking and energetically speaking, that have a balancing effect and a regulating effect on your body and also on your consciousness. In addition to this, the idea is there are also many different centers on your planet, different vortices, what you might call a power spot or a sacred spot, that has very powerful electromagnetic effects on your system that alter the idea of your consciousness, that alter the idea of your experience of physical reality. And in that sense, all of these different forces that you experience, these different energies, these different beings, are all, in that sense, inseparable from you, in the sense that they, in many ways, assist you in generating your experience of yourself. Now, understand that it's not as if, again, these forces create you in a way that is outside of you. Rather, these forces, these presences, these natural energies and beings are chosen by your energy, chosen by your frequency, based off of the beliefs you're using, based off of the themes you are exploring, based off of your energetic state. And it is that energetic state that aligns you with these different beings, with these different aspects of your environment. And in that sense, you create these external forces and beings that in turn assist you in generating your experience of yourself. So understand that even though you have the idea that your emotions and your states of being are oftentimes supported by the idea of a healthy microbiome, of a healthy environment, understand that it's your state of being first that begins to align you with these external forces that then support and complement the idea of your experience of yourself. And understand that if these forces were not at play, if these forces were not at work, you would not be having the physical experience that you are having. For being human, in that sense, is being a living extension, a living expression of your planetary consciousness. In other words, you are an extension of the Earth consciousness. You are an expression of the Gaia mind. And in that way, you generate the reality that you experience as a force that in turn generates your body, that generates your health, that generates your state of mind. But understand, first and foremost, in relationship to that creative reflection, is your energetic state. And when you are in a high vibrational state, a state of positivity where you're acting on your joy, when you're fully expressing yourself, it is this state that then shifts you to a version of your environment, to a version of your body with a certain microbiome that is imbalanced, that then reflects back to you the idea of states of wellness, of states of vitality, of states of health and well-being. So understand that you may experience in the years to come different fluctuations in your Schumann resonance, different shifts collectively in your environment. And understand that these shifts are not something happening to you. They are external synchronistic events that you with your energy are selecting, that you with your energy are choosing for your own growth and your own evolution. The reason we are emphasizing this information is because without you being in that state of love, of joy, of passion, of ecstasy, the idea is that what you consider to be your external reality will then reflect that back to you. In other words, when you are in that state of full self-expression, you will experience more greatly a reality experience of full self-expression. What that may look like varies from one reality to the next, but generally speaking, what you will find is that the more of a positive state you are in, the more you decide to follow your passion, to follow your joy, the more you will experience the environment you're in, both locally, and the greater environment collectively reflecting that energy back to you. And that is how you guide the idea of this global transformation. For if you resist those states, if you resist being yourself, if you suppress that energy, you will then externally begin to perceive the idea of a resistance to the awakening, as you call it, a resistance to the transformation. And the idea is that that external process can, in that way, become slightly stagnated in terms of your experience. It may seem to drag on, it may seem to lag, it may seem to be overly dramatic in relationship to things you do not prefer. But understand, it does that out of service to you. For in order for it to reflect back to you stagnation, in order for it to reflect back to you resistance, that must be occurring within you on some level. So you can utilize your awareness of your environment, of your body, of your collective as a sort of feedback system in the following way. you may notice that there are certain challenges that are emerging within your collective consciousness. You may become aware of this through your social media, your news, etc. And the idea is to recognize that for whatever reason, you, as the lucid dreamer of your physical reality dream, have chosen that reflection. Because in some way, it is providing you information that you can use to positively transform yourself. We are going to be delivering transmissions upcoming in relationship to an event called Hybrid Dream Camp, where we will be exploring this more in-depthly. But as a precursor to that event, we will share with you the following. When you observe the idea of these reflections in your reality that you either prefer or don't prefer, the idea is to not see it as a force outside of you that is creating you or creating your experience, but to rather see it as a symbol, to see it as an energy that for some reason you have selected for your benefit, for your growth. And to live your life as that lucid dreamer is to then interpret the idea of that symbol and to say to yourself, if this were a dream and I were reflecting on this dream, what would that symbol in the collective, in the environment, in my body be communicating to me? What would it be showing me about myself? And through beginning to observe the symbology of your reality through that lens, you can more easily begin to perceive the idea of what the energies are within yourself that require integration, that you can balance within yourself, that you can transform within yourself, to then experience the idea of that refined energy state, then creating a new experience of reality that's then based off of the positive change. And that is how you can, step by step, guide your collective ascension process. Because it's not as if you are a passive participant, so to say. You are an active co-creator in relationship to this global transformation. Without the idea of your input, without the idea of your energy, that transformation does not occur. So, because you are observing the idea of these changes occurring within your collective, that is evidence that your energy is somehow involved in that process. Otherwise, you wouldn't be experiencing it at all. So simply by virtue of observing that a global transformation is taking place, that is evidence for you to be able to say to yourself, for some reason I have chosen within myself to transform. For some reason I have chosen within myself to reshuffle the cards, to create a new experience. The idea is to, again, pay attention within yourself to the emotions, to the thoughts that arise within you in relationship to the idea of what you experience when you observe these outer symbols, and to then use that emotional intelligence, that emotional awareness to understand what within yourself requires transformation, what within yourself requires the positive change. And as you create that shift within yourself, you will then experience your collective reality demonstrating shifts that match the change you've made within. So understand that as time goes forward, there is a great deal of variation in relationship to that which is possible for you all. For those of you that are choosing to empower fear-based narratives, fear-based energies, and are choosing to not transform, but are choosing instead to match the energy of the outer reflection, in this scenario, a negative energy, you will find that that will snowball, that will grow. But understand that even if you experience that effect taking place, either in your body, in your environment, in your collective experience, that doesn't mean you are trapped. That doesn't mean you are stuck. It just means that you are doing everything in your power to show yourself reflections of the energies that you are being asked to transform, that you have generated such a dramatic, momentous experience, so to say. And the idea is through, again, looking at the scenario as a dream that you're interpreting, you can begin to then transform that energy. For those of you that are choosing more positive energies, that are choosing to transform and integrate in relationship to your preferential direction, in relationship to your truest expression of yourself, you will experience that snowballing. The other key to keep in mind, so to say, is the idea of your beliefs create your reality. And understand that when you experience the reflections, be they positive or negative reflections, you then have the opportunity to implant, so to say, into the experience your own customized belief system that relates to a general direction of the direction that you prefer to shift to. So in other words, in both digesting and integrating and processing the underlying symbolism that your waking dream is communicating to you, you can create that balance, that shift within yourself, and you can then, from that transformed place, begin to impose in a certain way positive belief systems that allow for you to then guide your lucid dream in relationship to your preferred directions. You will find that while you all may have similarities in relationship to your positive beliefs that you use, that you impose upon the idea of the external reality, you will find that there are some beliefs you can use that are very custom to you, custom to your preferences. And that is why we say there's a great deal of variation in how your collective events can unfold. Because what determines that unfoldment is your energy in relationship to what you're experiencing, your integration of that reflection, and the idea of your preferred positive belief systems that you utilize in relationship to that which you experience. And that can look very different from all of you. Your imagination will guide you here. Understand that your imagination will show you what your positive belief is that will most greatly serve you in relationship to the direction of your preference. So you can go to your imagination, you can go to your heart and visualize from your heart the realities you say you prefer and what the beliefs would have to be for you to experience in some way that imagining in your life. To create the belief system, the idea is to conceptualize the desire as an idea with words, and to then fuse with that idea positive energy. And that is how you begin to then craft positive belief systems that then guide the experience, that then guide the momentum. Once you have generated the positive belief system, let it go and stay in that positive state. Allow for yourself to move with that current, knowing that the belief has taken effect simply through you creating it and staying in that state and acting from that state, making your choices, making your decisions from that energetic state. This process may have you letting go of activities that are no longer relevant for the new you, for the new energy, and that can in many ways represent the idea of the action that integrates the belief. You may find that the energy state inspires you to take very new actions, to live in very different ways. And that again represents the integration of that belief system into your reality in a deeper way. And it's through the idea of using that energy in your choices, in your decision making, that can allow for you to rapidly experience positive momentum in an individual way, in an environmental way, and in a collective way, in relationship to the directions that you prefer. Your actions will lead the way. And that is why you have the phrase, actions speak louder than words, because the actions in and of themselves are symbols. They are symbolic, energetic expressions that align with the positive realities that are in resonance with the positive beliefs. So we will do a brief recap here. You're in a waking, lucid dream. Whatever you experience in your body, in your local environment, and in your collective is a reflection that you can use to understand yourself and what you are balancing, what you are integrating within yourself. The emotions will guide you. The emotions you feel in relationship to those reflections are your guides. As you integrate those energies, as you allow for yourself to understand what the symbolic meaning is, you will then be at a level within your own consciousness where you can then program into the reality the positive belief systems that represent you having learned the meaning of the underlying symbology. Once you have programmed those positive beliefs into yourself through choosing them, through fusing the idea with the energy, you will then have an awareness of the energetic state that represents those beliefs that you can then take action upon. And the idea is to stay in that state, and you will find your collective reality will follow suit. And all of the other levels of reality will follow suit. And that is, mechanically speaking, how you guide this process. Because again, it's not happening separately from you. You're not a passive observer, so to say. You are an active co-creator. And this is a way you can actively co-create your dream. You can actively co-create your reality. Now, understand, in relationship to what we have just said, you are not a passive observer. There is a level of yourself that your esoteric traditions have called the observer. And understand that this observer level of your consciousness is fundamentally neutral in its energy. And this observational quality allows for you to clearly see the symbology, the intuitive, imaginative belief systems, and the positive actions that represent them. And if you find that you have challenge in understanding the symbolism of why you're creating externally what you're creating, or connecting with your imagination in a conscious way, or taking positive actions, the neutral observational energy will assist you all in coming back to your center so you can clearly see within yourselves all of the levels we have just mentioned. One of the easiest ways, one of the fastest ways to align with that neutral observational energy within yourself is your breath. Is simply watching your breath, watching your breathing. Even 5 minutes of this action will allow for you to go into a neutral state of mind. So you can then, as the neutral observer, read into the underlying symbology. So you can go into your imagination and imagine your preferred realities to derive the positive beliefs. So you can then take the positive actions with no expectation. It's the neutral observational energy that will guide you here. And it's that neutral energy that lays the ground for transformation. In many ways, your Earth, in terms of its overall frequency, is very much neutral in that it allows for you to have positive and negative expressions of consciousness. And when you align with the Earth, you will be able to both see the darkness from neutrality, which will also allow for you to see the light, the positive, from neutrality. So you can then experience the idea of your lucid dream in full HD Technicolor awareness. And understand that it's the neutral perspective that aligns with the fundamental energy of Source, in the sense that Source is very much neutral, and that Source also, like your Earth, allows for both light and dark, positive and negative, to exist, for both are expressions of it. And as you align with that neutral observer, you align with the energy of Source. And understand that you are an expression of Source, an extension of Source, and it is from that neutral observation of the Source perspective that you can then very easily imagine and understand the active co-creator that you prefer to be. for you can actively co-create in any way. However, you will find that through being in the state of being that represents your joy, your passion, you can be the preferred co-creator that represents your fundamental you in action. The fundamental you is the idea of your human character fully aligned with the higher self. And it is that neutral space that allows for you to see from the human perspective your higher self connection, your soul connection, your oversoul connection, and ultimately your source connection. And that is how you can utilize the observational energies so you can fully step into that role of being the preferred, active co-creator. Now, we will give a few more tidbits in this transmission in relationship to what may emerge in relationship to many of the timelines that we are scanning into. There is a probability on many of the timelines that UFO sightings and documentation about UFOs and extraterrestrials will begin to increase in relationship to your collective awareness of such. And as this begins to occur, you will be in a unique opportunity to actively explore this field in ways that are more public, in ways that are more holistic in terms of your relationship to your collective, exploring these themes. And you may find that there will be an increase in relationship to your local reality of individuals whom are open-minded about such matters, in relationship to individuals whom are excited about such matters. And you will find that should you explore the idea of UFOs and extraterrestrials with those in your reality whom are excited about the topic, you will increase the probability of contact with extraterrestrials amongst yourselves, whether that be you personally or the members of your reality whom also share that passion with you. And this relates to the idea of all of you who fall into this category of the timelines we scan into, shifting to a version of Earth, a version of reality where extraterrestrial contact is becoming more probable, more accelerated. And understand that, again, should you find that this occurs within your experience of your global ascension, understand that it's occurring as a reflection to you. Because again, it's not separate from you. For some reason, you've co-created that symbol. Now it's up to you to use that in whatever way you're excited to. However, for many of you, this may relate to the idea of you becoming more expressive of this passion, becoming more expressive in relationship to this topic, and allowing for it to become something that's not taboo, something that's not hidden, but something that is open. And that is how you can begin to pave the way, so to say, in your reality for open contact, through the idea of being open about your desire for open contact, being open about your experiences with extra-dimensional beings, with extraterrestrials, knowing that as you take positive action in relationship to this direction, you will be synchronizing with the guides whom are aligned with the idea of this energy that relates to contact, that relates to UFO sightings and encounters. And you will find that as you take action in relationship to that direction, if that's the direction you're excited to move into, you will also increase the probability of UFO encounters in your local areas. And there's a probability that this will occur regardless of the reality experience that you are in. In other words, you will find that even if you're in a major metropolitan area, through expressing yourself in such a way, you will increase the probability of sightings, of experiences collectively and individually that relate to extraterrestrials and extraterrestrial activity. And as we have said, it's probable in the months to come there will be more documentation being released by your governments collectively. We are speaking about world governments here, not just one country, but many countries. And you can ride that wave, ride that momentum. So in your own reality, in your own life, using that reflection, you can increase the probability of your experiences, both locally, collectively, and individually, in relationship to crafts, encounters, etc. And this is, in many ways, an example of how you can use the outer reflection to your advantage. We will break this down a little bit more. In relationship to observing everything as your lucid dream, should your government begin to release documents about UFOs and UFO phenomenon, you can then interpret that in the following way. Oh, look, this is a symbol that is showing me extraterrestrial contact is becoming more probable. Ah, that then, right there, is that integration process, because you have discovered what that symbol is to you. From here, you can generate the idea of the positive belief system. I have the ability to shift to a reality where open contact is more probable for me. And you then infuse that belief with the positive state. And then from there, staying in that positive state, taking actions, whether that be letting go of something or choosing a new option or choosing your favorite thing, etc. You then align through that action with a version of yourself, with a version of your local reality, with a version of your collective, with a version of your earth that represents energetically that new belief system. And that's an example of how you can interpret the symbology, of how you can create the new belief system, and how you can take the action to crystallize it for yourself. Understand there will likely be much more in relationship to disclosure, for that's actually what you're all moving towards. One of the reasons that your governments are releasing documents about UFOs, are releasing footage about UFOs, and why so many quote-unquote whistleblowers about UFOs are coming forward, is because you are in the midst of a disclosure process. And this process will continue based off what we are observing in the timeline probabilities, in a way where eventually you will find that your world leaders will begin to announce extraterrestrials are present, extraterrestrials have been present, and extraterrestrials are actively interacting with Earth. And again, this is a probability. It's not necessarily a guarantee, but you increase that it's a probability for you when you again take the positive action, empowered by the positive belief in your life, thus crystallizing the idea of this prediction for yourselves. One of the other things we will share with you at this time is the idea of physical changes that will likely be taking place in relationship to your planet. Understand that because many aspects of your industries have slowed down globally, your planet is going through a bit of a reset, in the sense that it now has an opportunity to begin to make certain repairs, to begin to make certain changes within its ecosystems, within its energetic matrices. And understand that, again, this is something that you are experiencing collectively in relationship to animals coming closer to you, becoming more proximal to your cities, becoming more proximal to your communities, as well as the idea of certain animal species actually returning, some of which your scientists believed were extinct. And the idea is, again, this is an outer reflection that you have the ability to utilize in relationship to your preferred direction. So you can begin to also ride that momentum through saying, what is that symbol of the earth going into a greater state of balance communicating to me? And as you begin to understand that for yourself, you can then create a positive belief system about it, taking positive actions, so you can begin to experience in your life the idea of your version of Earth continuing that positive momentum. You may notice certain accelerations of weather patterns taking place temporarily. You may notice certain changes in relationship to the qualities of your atmospheres in terms of oxygen content and reduction in pollutants. There is also, in that sense, a probability of new technologies being developed that relate to regeneration and the regeneration of your planet and your soil. And the idea is that, again, this is what is probable for you. And some of this is already occurring for your collectives. So align with this energy if you desire it, if you prefer it, and take steps in your reality that symbolize that energy. One moment. The final aspect of this transmission that we will share with you in relationship to updates, so to say, in terms of probabilities. For many of you, consciously and unconsciously, there is a great deal of interaction between the beings of Sirius and your Earth. And understand that the beings of Sirius have guided your Earth for eons. The ancient peoples of your Earth interacted, and still do, very deeply with the beings of Sirius. And understand that as you become more aware of your passion, and as you act your passion out more in your life, you will find that beings from Sirius will begin to make greater contact with you during these times. And this has to do with the idea of the Sirius energies reflecting the higher self of humanity. That is a role they have chosen for themselves, and that is a role that they play with our civilization, and it is a role they continue to play with yours. So as you align with your passion, which is the energetic translation of your own higher self, you will find you will resonate more greatly with Sirius, which can allow for you to experience contact from them, both in the dream state and consciously, and it can also allow for the beings of Sirius to interact more intimately with other members of your collective, and in particular, members of your own governments, to certain extents. Now again, not all individuals may be conscious of this, but through your choice to align with that energy, that is the higher self, which resonates greatly with the beings of Sirius and their frequencies, you allow for those energies to become more palpable to you, to become more embodied in relationship to your experience of reality. For they are, at this time, sharing a great deal of information with your planet. Their stars are beaming energetics at your planet. These are here as energies that are available to all of you. And through aligning with that higher self, and through simply thinking of these beings, through simply imagining these beings, and through simply acting out your joy, acting out your passion, you will begin to allow for their energies to become more noticeable to you, so you can experience in your individual expression and in your collective expression, they're present. One of the easiest ways as a permission slip that you can utilize to commune with the beings of Sirius is through traveling, if you can, to bodies of water, in particular oceans, if you're able to, as well as simply through, in meditation, in states of relaxation, listening to the sounds of the dolphins, listening to the sounds of the whales. There are many recordings of these animals and their songs that you can tune into, and through listening to them, you can begin to imagine that their sounds, their songs, are actually your thoughts. To begin to substitute the idea of thinking in your English language for the sounds of the whales, for the sounds of the dolphins, allowing for the mental aspect of your being to become reprogrammed by the energy of the whales and dolphins. And one of the reasons for this is because the whales and dolphins have a great deal of genetic connection to the beings of Sirius, and these species are originally from these systems. They are not native to your Earth. So, these are some of the energies that we are reading at this time that you can connect to, that you can amplify, so you can guide your ascension, so you can guide your evolution, so you can lucidly dream your life. For remember, your life contains all frequencies: the light, the dark, the neutral. And as you embrace that neutral observational energy, you can experience all aspects of yourself. So you can dream your preferred dream, being guided by your higher self, being guided by the guides of humanity, the beings of Sirius, allowing for you to co-create a reality expression, to co-create a version of Earth where open contact becomes more palpable, more visceral, more observable. And we thank you for your attention in this transmission. And as always, our civilization's unconditional love to each and every single one of you. And we thank you for your unique gifts, your unique expressions. Wow. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I had a blast delivering this. My unconditional love to all of you, and thank you for shining. Thank you for being yourselves. And I'll see you all again in a different version of the Eternal Now.